society. So it should be, whatever we pray for during the Bhavana session, it should help us to become a good human being, a responsive human being, a sensitive to the demands and suffering of human beings. So all those things we have to bring it out. That is why it is that improving the human relationship, bringing out our latent potential, and then making impartial decisions, unbiased decisions. A Sthita Prajna state. At least we can hope, we may fail, we may forget. And then controlling our disturbing thoughts. We are pulled very often by such disturbing thoughts and down-pulling thoughts. And achieving perfection through concentration. At the moment, it is turbulent, it goes here and there. We are unable to concentrate. Only this concentration will lead to perfection. And finally, to become aware of the presence of God. So these are some of the things which came to our mind, and that has been written in that paper, which was distributed to all the participants. So that means, the moment we come out of the session, we also try to, our quality of life should get improved, or at least we must become aware that our quality of life should be improved. Because the moment we think about Mauna session, if these things well up in our heart, it will ultimately help. Not for the sake of discipline. We want to become a good human being, where human relationship becomes perfect, potentiality comes out in its fullest form, remembering God also gets prioritized. These are some of the things, which we need. So our suggestion is that when we take to Mauna session, we should always think about that. And for this, our prop or support is Ram Nam. So while chanting Ram Nam, while observing Ram Nam, and the next one we said, method of calming the mind, praying to the Guru or the deity. Either to the Guru or to the deity, our chosen deity, who is seated within our hearts, to guide us properly. And second thing is to mentally take to chanting of His name. Because He means, God means, He is all goodness. He is love, He is compassionate, He is potential, omniscient, omnipresent and omnipotent. Omnipotent, omniscient and omnipresent. Every day we repeat, So He is there. So we are, when we are chanting His name, we try to bring out all these things in us. Every day when in the ashram, when we try to go through the universal prayer, we repeat these words. All of you might be remembering that. You are omnipresent, you are omnipotent, you are omniscient. So we try that. Then so for that we are chanting His name. And then to feel His presence, we must try to hear the mental repetition. The mind may go here and there, so we try to lengthen the chant and also listening to it. And if still the mind is restless, we try to watch everything. Let it go anywhere it likes. So that slowly the watcher is the real you, the self-immortal, Papa's words, it comes back to us. So this is the background. So here we find, to become a human being, good human being, Papa has given us the holy and all-powerful Ram Nam. It is not for chanting's sake, to become a human being, good human being, to become worthy of His creation. When I say I have come from Him, Puja Swamiji said the other day, be a model. What is expected of us as a Papa's devotee, we should become. What is that? A human, good human relation. Moksha and all those things, that will be taken care later. Because immediately after the session, we are back to our usual life. So this is very important. So here, Nama is our prop, our support, our emblem. So it is better we try to understand more and more about the Nama. Whatever we have understood, that is okay. We are trying to go through it again, that's all. In the initial phase of our sadhana, Beloved Papa asks us to chant the holy and all-powerful divine name as much as possible. Since the name is God himself. Papa is fond of repeating that word. Name is God. There's an article also. And chanting the name with total faith and devotion enables the chanter to realize his oneness with the Supreme. We have been chanting, but we are nowhere near that becoming one with him. So that means the proper what do you call that? Conception. There are many who are doing sadhana. They do not know why they are doing it. Their conception of God is very limited and narrow. They must have in the first place a right concept of God before they try to attain Him. These are his words. So while chanting, we should also try to have this right concept. It is not for discipline's sake. It is for the sake of becoming one with Him, who is all goodness, who is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. That we keep on hammering. To those who have simple faith or those who wholeheartedly take to this chanting to the exclusion of all other activities, this may be enough. When Papa says, the name is God himself, chanting the name with total faith and devotion enabled the chanter to realize his oneness with the Supreme. Simple faith, people who have got simple faith, and they are exclusively involved in this particular sadhana, intensely, living with the with the minimum, barest minimum needs. Totally our mind space is occupied by this aspiration, intense aspiration. To them, okay, but people like us, who are exposed to so many thoughts on spirituality and involved in multivarious activities right from morning till evening, the chanting exercise may become a mere ritual, especially in the initial stages. However, our faith in the Guru will help us pursue the chanting and gradually develop a liking for the name and the rhythm, making the chanting session joyous. That stage we have reached, no doubt about it. Liking the name and the rhythm and making the chanting session joyous. However, we are unable to sustain the feeling of the joy when chanting is stopped. We have to look back to our own life. As soon as the program session ends, we find there is no change in my attitude. The me and mine is intact. I am not bringing God into the picture. 45-minute session or in Samadhi Mandir, half an hour, suppose I join for 1 or 2. That particular session is beautiful, joyous. But as soon as I come out, the sense of individuality's dominance on me is not reduced. This is the blunt truth. So now we are asking this question: how can this feeling which I had during my Nama chanting be sustained? Am I experiencing joy because of the absence of routine thoughts? Because I involve myself wholly in chanting, the raga and the chanting both. The mind does not go out. So there is a withdrawal from the usual thoughts which are disturbing me, testing times, so many things, So those are kept at bay, for the time being suspended, and we enjoy. Is that why we say that the Ramnam session was wonderful? The very word we come out, when we say this, today's Ramnam session was wonderful. So but we are unable to sustain that. That means immediately after the Ramnam session, the me and mind comes back with its full force. Each one can look back, then find. Or is communion with God the source of joy? Only that person will know. Feeling of communion with God may be very difficult, especially for people like us. Unlike individuals or objects, God cannot be brought within the ambit of anything that we know. When you say we have to become one with Him means we must be clear about that Him, Since as He is not an object, He cannot be objectified. He is the very subject who is prompting us to chant His name. So how can we bring Him into our mental vision? So the mind has to hold on to something which it can dwell on. So here Papa comes to our rescue and says, bringing the attributes of God may help us feel His presence while chanting, develop a closeness with Him, which in turn may help us sustain the joy. That means how to discourage the me and mind to take possession of us immediately after the chanting. What is the way out? So Papa gives various list of attributes. God is love absolute, truth, stillness, silence, bliss, consciousness. He is without name and form. He has manifested the entire creation, yet He is beyond it. There can be so many, a few have been picked up. So silence, God is love absolute. Truth means that which is eternal, that is called truth. What is eternal in me, I was a child, I became an adolescent, I became a youth, I became a middle-aged person, now I am a senior citizen, But one thing is common there, the I. Who is that? Rest of the things are changing place. But there is one eternal truth, identifying with the ephemerals, changing ones. So the truth, stillness. Many of us must have had a glimpse of it yesterday. Silence, peace, bliss, consciousness, like that. Efforts are now made to focus on any one of the attributes so as to get some clarity on the expression God. The Master says that if we can understand even one of the attributes, we will be able to experience His other facets. Of all His attributes, love is the easiest one to understand first, because loving our mother was our first expression, that too without any external motivation. Nobody instructed us to start loving our mother. Simple truth. It was spontaneous, so that means it is inherent in us. Loving means first stage of stretching ourselves to. Instead of imprisoning ourselves in the toils of individualism, we are trying to get out of that and stretch out. That is what is called love. Think about it. So love is the easiest one to understand because loving our mother was our first expression, that too without any external motivation. It welled up naturally in us and was spontaneous. Through our spiritual growing up, we realize that love absolute is impersonal. It extends to all alike. As our feeling towards our mother and kith and kin was conditional and limited to a small circle, we begin to understand that it was perhaps not love but attachment. To make it more blunt, which is not very nice to hear, but that is the truth. Our relationship with our parents during our childhood days and when we become individual, you find, it is not the same. We love them, but the love that we had when we were children and the love that we have now is different. What happened then? At that time, our mind space was almost taken over by them. Later on, we have filled up the space with so many other things and also them. No? Think about it. All those things were attached to us. Similarly, mother and father or kith and kin, that relationship was also a form of attachment, not love. Something on which, we are trying to understand that. Though through our spiritual growing up, we realize that love absolute is impersonal. That means it extends to all alike. As our feeling towards our mother, kith and kin was conditional, that's also there, and limited to a small circle, we begin to understand that it was perhaps not love, but attachment. This revelation prompts us to better understand the characteristic of love absolute. Intellectually, we come to know that love absolute means absence of otherness, which signifies unbounded love expresses through unconditional service towards all alike. This we learn later by looking at our gurus, masters. They are equal to everybody. They are accessible for everybody has got direct access towards them. Everybody in their own way derives the maximum benefit from their association. So they are not attached to anything, but they are affectionate and loving towards all. An inquiring mind would slowly look at the characteristics of the 5 elements of Mother Nature: earth, air, water, space, fire, of which we are all made up. If we can bring some of this during our sessions, during our sadhana period, it will definitely help us. That means preparing ourselves for a Mona session. Otherwise, we may feel only during that particular time we will have. No, it will not help much. This point is very important. Panjendriya Mahabhudam Sambhavam Karma Sanchidam Shariram Sugadukhanam Bhoga Ayatanam Uchyate. This body is made up of these 5 elements. And what are these 5 elements? Air, water, space, fire. Do they specify the beneficiary? It's available for everybody, That is our raw material. So that means we are inherently, essentially, intrinsically that unbounded love, unconditional service. When all our Shastras keep on hammering, roaring, Shunvandu Vishye Amritasya Putra, we were all trying to understand it in a different way. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All these words we have heard. But what does it mean? Means that with which we have been made is from this purest substance called unconditional service and unbounded love. So basically we are that, we have forgotten. So try to think about it. This is what he says. None of them specify the beneficiaries, nor do they stipulate any condition as to how they can be used. So is the case with sun, plants and trees. Sun, morning. So apart from Mother Nature, society also provides us with all creature comforts, which are also expression of love and service. Those who invented or discovered the amenities that make our life comfortable did not keep either the technology or the resultant products for themselves, but gave it for the use of all without specifying the beneficiaries. We will also realize that the characteristics of the raw material are present in the finished products. So though we may not be aware of it, characteristics of the 5 elements of Mother Nature are our characteristics too, as we owe our existence to these 5 elements. Nama chanting, coupled with an inquiring mind, will make us intellectually aware of the truth that at the core of our being is unbounded love and unconditional service, and that all creations also love and serve us unconditionally. Contemplating thus, our hearts will be filled with reverence and gratitude towards the creation. This will slowly replace grumblings, complaints, which may be our normal attitude. This revelation paves the way for us to feel the presence of the Creator in the form of love through the creation. So the air we breathe, first when we take. None of us may not be even conscious that we are breathing air, It is so automatic that we have become unaware of it. And in the absence of air means finished. Some of us experienced during our COVID time, So we try to think about one, that is enough. And this air, water, earth, space, with which we are what we are. And the characteristic of it is, characteristic of it is unbounded love and unconditional service. Unbounded love and unconditional service. Whose name we are chanting? So when we say Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, somewhere we try to fill in the gap with this. When we pursue Namajapa with this dimension, we will also start to realize that everyone and everything in the creation are interconnected and interdependent. No one can arrogate that he or she can exist without the help of other creations. Therefore, each one has to do one's part with an attitude of paying back. So these are some of the ways by which we are trying to improve the quality of our life. You were mentioning about good human relationship, Because Papa used to say, we are a part of the stupendous whole, WHO. Anything. Even the clothes we wear, how many people have put in their effort? Mother Nature in the form of cotton. And for that to bring it out, how the 5 elements helped for the cotton plant to deliver this to us. And how many human beings, machineries, we give money and then we hardly think about it. So here, when we pursue Namajapa with this dimension, we will also start to realize that everyone and everything in the creation are interconnected and interdependent. No one can arrogate that he or she can exist without the help of other creations. Therefore, each one has to do one's part with an attitude of paying back. That is why beloved Papa said, the liberation and peace of the individual is surely based upon his or her contribution towards the collective human happiness and harmony. When I am enjoying all these things given by various other creation, my life also should be able to contribute something towards harmony and peace. When we dwell on these thoughts, slowly a process sets in where self-centeredness, meaning the me and mine factor, will become less and less prominent. So as soon as we come out of the Nama session, now we are watching whether it is predominant. How do I know? When I take decisions, when I react to events and individuals. That is the litmus test. Suddenly the me and mine takes the stand and comments, judges, reacts. So when we dwell on these thoughts, that we are all interconnected, interdependent, we are basically, essentially, intrinsically an embodiment of unbounded love and unconditional service, then what happens? A process sets in where the self-centeredness, meaning the me and mine factor, will become less and less prominent. We will realize that spirituality is nothing but living in harmony with and feeling gratitude towards the rest of the creation. I am leading a spiritual life. When I say, you can put it in simple words. Are we in harmony with the creation? Harmony, do we feel gratitude toward the creation? The following words of beloved Papa sum up these thoughts in a very inspiring manner. To love all is the true bhakti of God, and to serve all is the real worship of God. Ultimately, it will become possible for us to understand the import of beloved Papa's words. Love is the expression of God. To realize love is to realize God. And love means absence of otherness. And God is all-pervading and is seated in the hearts of all beings, creatures and things. To love all is to be in tune with God. That is to become conscious of our perfect oneness with every form of manifestation in the universe. These are all the words of Papa. Love becomes love only when it is applied in the form of service. He says that service is the perfume of life. Service is the perfume of life. Such service will of course be spontaneous in nature and not a product of a thought. So as we travel further with Nama, it becomes clear that in order to sustain the feeling of oneness, apart from the intellectual knowledge, we must all start feeling our inner content, and for this we should begin our inward journey. Papa here says, utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from all thoughts. We have been assured that the chanting will slowly arrest all dissimilar thought currents, and the mind concentrates on the name, leading to stillness. Subsequently, we have been assured that the source from which thoughts emanate, which is also nothing but stillness. No? Yesterday we must have been observing it. Om Shri Ram. There is a gap between Om and Shri. However much we try to explain, we will not be able to explain. So it is not an intellectual assembly. It is an experiential factor. We cannot explain what is that. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. So subsequently we have been assured that the source from which thoughts emanate, which is also nothing but stillness, may be experienced. To get stabilized in this state, it is imperative that all our outer actions are in line with our inner aspiration, meaning the mind must gradually become pure. This pursuit will enable us to evaluate whether we are able to sustain the experience gained during the inward journey, even after we have come out of it. It is something like our learning to ride the bicycle. When once we have the balance, we will never lose it. We then become aware that all thoughts arise out of the source of our being, stillness or silence. Even the very act of repeating the name also owes its origin to the stillness within. Suddenly it will dawn on us that whatever is outside is nothing but a projection or an extension of the self, thus helping us to know that whatever term we may use, stillness, silence, or love, they all mean one and the same. When we recognize the fact that the world is mere a projection of ourselves, because everything comes from here. First, we try to realize the nama comes from what? The gap is there. Stillness or silence, about which we cannot explain, but we can definitely feel the thoughts or the nama. So, in that sense, it can be said it's a projection. You will be able to accept everything as it is in its own place without choosing one thing rather than the other. So now, summing up, Papa says, spirituality that cannot be applied in actual life is no spirituality. Spirituality is not different from the usual run of life. That means when I come out of the chanting, when I come out of the spiritual discipline, whatever he has prompted us, we become a good human being. The quality of our life is enriched. A good family being, a good professional being, a good social being, a good aspirant, a good sadhaka, in all spheres. Papa used to put it beautifully. Comprehensive development will take place. It is not one-sided development. So spirituality that cannot be applied in actual life is no spirituality. God is in the world and is acting through every one of us. God realization does not mean disappearing into some unknown realm beyond the world. True spirituality consists in our living in this world, moving in it, serving all beings, all the time being conscious of the divine within us and everywhere around us. This is spirituality. Spirituality that cannot be applied in actual life is no spirituality. So Nama chanting should enable us to understand this, Nama of whom? Nama of the Spirit, God. So that is how it says Nama leads us from stage to stage to stage. Where we are now being taught about there are so many points discussed now. First, we try to chant, we try to have the right concept of whose name we are chanting, his attributes. Then we are all a part of this world, family being, professional being, social being. But we used to think that I am right, you are wrong, my likes and dislikes, my preferences, my priorities, my rights and wrongs, that dominate me. So slowly I start now thinking that I am a part of the whole setup. I am existing because of the factors other than me. I am a product of the base, fundamental, raw material called Panchabhutas. Panchabhutas express only what? Unbounded love, unconditional service. So that is there in us. We don't know that. So the me and mine has clouded the whole thing. And when I come out as an individual, I realize all things which I need has come from other factors, through other creations. So I am interrelated, I am interdependent. So the me and mine gets reduced. And then when we have reached that stage, the Dharma takes us for inward journey. And during the inward journey, we are given a taste of our original core of our being, the stillness or the silence, from where everything emanates. And then a correct definition of the spirituality. When japa coupled with inward journey is continued with greater intensity and with the proper perspective, we have been assured by Papa that the name will take us to the Nishtala Tattva and enable us to merge in love absolute. He asserts you have to repeat, chant or sing the name, no doubt, for a certain period. After that, repetition must cease. The mind must become perfectly still. In that stillness, duality is transcended. Repeated and the repeated, devotee and God become one. And what is this state? He describes the final experience as objectless happiness. A state where the mind stops craving for or moving toward the external objects and all the senses are directed inward. On a lighter vein, suppose we think that we take that nama is the bus, no? The sense of individuality is the passenger. And the destination is this. And the bus takes us stage to stage. And after some stage, the bus will say, you have to get down, you have to walk. And from there it will be shown, that's the place you have to reach. That is why the last line he said, you have to repeat, sing, chant or sing the name, no doubt, for a certain period. After that, repetition must cease. Mind must become perfectly still. In the stillness, duality is transcended. Repeated and the repeated, God and devotee become one. So during our Mauna session, if these thoughts, yesterday we were prompted by him to give this to all the participants in different Nama leads, there's a small pamphlet. It's a small pamphlet and we have got one full day, undisturbed. So we go through it again and again and again and again. Every reading throws some light. And that is why we remember and now reproduce. Because during our sitting, we went through it many a time, that small booklet. So that means this is the journey he takes us. So Mama chanting, when properly done, how does it take from stage to stage and finally leads us to the destination? You have to repeat, stand or sing the name, no doubt, for a certain period. After that, repetition must cease. Mind must become perfectly still. In the stillness, duality is transcended. The repeated and the repeated, the devotee and God become one. So when we chanted, it might have slipped into a superficial exercise initially. Then later on, because we have faith in the words of the masters, we start enjoying the session. But after the session, again we are back to square one. Then slowly, all these dimensions are brought in one by one, which, he gives us through so many in a day, especially in ashram routine. All these things are given through prayer, through arati chanting, through anything. we will find whether it is flower offering, whether it is Vishnu Sahasranam, whether it is Guru Stuti, whether it is solo chanting, whether it is bhajan. Suppose we try to not thinking as a session, morning 5 to 5:30 we have Vishnu Sahasranam. Afterward there is a solo Ramam. Then afterward there is Guru Stuti. Like that, instead of that, how does it help me to move toward this? Probably it might help us. So this is how he took us yesterday. So we request everybody, those of you who are having this small background, you must have because it had come many, I think two
Almost 15 years ago.
eh?
Almost 15 years ago.
15 years ago, yeah, must be. And we still remember when this was given for Tamil translation to Ramnam Bank Mama. What is his name? Yagambar Mama. He said, I will myself do it and come there. And he came all the way from Chennai, and during our Satsang session, he read it out. He says, this is priceless, because this gives us the right attitude. Otherwise, it may slip into a ritual, leaving no deep impress on our mind about Nama. So yesterday in Malayalam, Tamil and English, it was distributed. It depends upon how Papa prompts from within to go through it. Anyway, now that it has been given, all of them can go through it again and again and again and slowly ponder over it, so that our Ram session becomes more and more effective, and finally we all become aware of the author of our being, whose name we are chanting. Papa's words are very inspiring words. Unless you link yourself with the author of your being, the life becomes in vain. All our efforts are to link ourselves with the author of our being. Nama and Nami become one, yes. Through Nama, we are getting connected to the Nami. Through the Nama. And come back and function as an individual. Previously, we were thinking that we are the deciding factors, we are the planners. We start from me and mine, we end with me and mine. Okay. But now, when we go through this, we come to know that we retain that sense of individuality with the feeling that the Nami wants us to lead this life. And he is giving us the instruction at every moment of our time. Papa names it as his will, So this Nama chanting is very, now only we realize why he said Nama chanting alone is enough. No other sadhana is necessary. Because it is free from all conditioning. Any time, at any place, you can chant. Then we also realize by chanting, we are trying to remember the one who is with us, who has been with us. Nama chanting enables us to remember the one who is with us right from the seed level and who has been with us up to this moment. It is not something new, We have forgotten his presence, adorable presence, who is behind who is interpenetrating the very cells, who is the eye of our eyes, ear of our ears, heart of our hearts, breath of our soul of our souls, Bless us, dear God, to be aware of thy presence now and here, He has been with us, though we were not recognizing him. And the moment he withdraws from this body, we are out. 4 people will come and take this body, that's all. The moment he withdraws, So he is with us, he has been with us, he is with us, he has been with us. I should remember him. For remembering him, the easy way is to chant his name. So this is how the Nama chanting becomes effective, and at least we start realizing that he is the author of our whole thing. And we fail, we forget, again we try to connect, we fail and forget, we try to connect. That is, the sadhana process. But by looking at masters, Mahatma's life, we know that though they are also a product of this society, they became enlightened, they became aware of this. So we also are entitled to become aware of that. It is not reserved for anyone, because God is there in equal measure in everyone. Samam sarveshu bhudeshu tishtantam parameshwaram. No? He is equal in all of us, so naturally we are all entitled to have, so we must now try. With this support, Nama chanting. So during our Mauna session, all these can be reflected upon, deeply reflected upon, contemplated upon. So this time we were prompted to introduce this book also, writing Ramnam also, hearing Ramnam also, mentally chanting Ramnam, becoming aware of the gap between the two mantras, lengthening the chanting. Om Shri Ram. The tangible gain is the tendency for the mind to go on will be stopped. And the gap between two mantras, all these things were given to us yesterday. So, the Sankalpa is to have this Mauna session every month in the ashram, preferably on the second Sunday. Let us see how Papa fulfills our Sankalpa. So for all others, even for those who are in the ashram and doing seva, every day morning, suppose we set apart 5 minutes or 10 minutes to dwell upon the Nama with this perspective. Probably we will be able to make the best use of it during our Mauna session. These are all the preparatory measures we have to take. Straight away going and sitting and then coming out and carrying on with it may not help us much. But suppose we prepare ourselves and go for the Mauna session with this background, definitely the result will be more and more positive and beneficial to all of us. So let us hope and pray to Papa, who has given us all these thoughts, who is taking us towards him through various methods, to hasten the process and make us to become one with him. Hari Om, Hari Om. More of it, we will share it on day after tomorrow. Om Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody, Hari Om. Pranam, Pranam, Pranam.
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Namaskaram, Namaskaram. Pranam, Pranam, Pranam. Namaskaram, Namaskaram. Hari Om, Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram.